display, what we're talking about. First thing is the Long Island Education Coalition Cost and Outcomes Report. All of these reports are on the public content of board docs, so they're available for anybody that would like them right now, and will be put on Facebook and the web page tomorrow. The Long Island Coalition has many members, most of them in education, from school boards to NYSED to superintendents, PTAs, BOCES, and they collect data for Long Island. And I want to show you a few of the data points. I'm not going over the whole report. Anybody who wants to do that, they can do that certainly on their own. What they try to do is they take regional data, and this first slide, what it does is it takes the purchasing power of $1,000 and relates it throughout the state. And what it shows is that purchasing power for Long Island for $1,000 is much less than it is up in the North Country. And that's called cost differential. Why it costs more to live in Long Island, in Westchester, than it does in the rest of the state. And cost differential should be used in more of what the state is doing as far as state aid and other areas. For instance, this is a graph, and again, it's probably hard to see there, but this item on the left is the Long Island. In the middle is Long Island adjusted, and this is New York State. And this has to do with teacher wages. So you might say that the teachers make more on Long Island than they do in the rest of the state, but if you put in the cost differential, how much money they make, how far it goes, they actually make less than the rest of the state. And that's elementary, middle, and secondary, even though we don't really break it down that way. But in all cases, when you look at the cost differential for Long Island, our teachers make less than their colleagues around the state. I'm kind of liking PowerPoint better than this. 20. Long Island was the 30th lowest of the 56 counties overall percentage of increase in pupil expenditures over a 10-year period. So what we're spending on students is less than most other counties. We say we have declining enrollment, but yet Long Island's enrollment is declining slower than the rest of the state, other than Jefferson County, which is increasing. This tells you another picture, and this has to do with the use of the property tax levy versus state aid. This colored portion is the state aid. This is Long Island, and the portion that we get to run our schools in state aid, this is the rest of the state.
Now we have a tax.
And we have a tax levy cap, and we have the largest GEA of any region.
GEA is?
Gap elimination adjustment. I'll get to that. It's my next topic.
Student achievement.
Our student achievement is always top in the state. So that really, you know, and the whole report even has more in it, so I could really tell you to look at the whole report. That's just a few highlights. But really take a look at it, and if you have any questions, certainly in December I would be happy to answer them. Going from that, I'll go to gap elimination adjustment. There's a few slides I want to compare that make the point that Mr. Cooley just made. This is our state aid in 2008-2009. This is our actual state aid last year and our proposed state aid this year. We use the proposed state aid to make our budget because that's what's given to us at the end of March or April. But if we take a look at our proposed state aid back in 2013-14, I'm sure you can't read that, I'll read it for you. It's $20,290,694. So roughly almost 20.3 million. That's what they said we were going to get, and what we based our budget on in 2013-14. Then the year progresses, and we get this, which is the actual amount, which we get sometime in July, June, 19.almost 7,000. So right away, we're at a $600,000 deficit before we even start, because they overestimated our state aid. But then they say, oh, we're going to give you $400,000 more, and we end up with just short of 19.9 million. That they called a $400,000 increase. By they, I mean Albany. But guess what? Our budget was built on 20.3 million. So that's not an increase. It's a decrease disguised as an increase.
And then to make up that shortfall, reserves.
We're using reserves. That's why we don't have 4% anymore.
And what do they attribute the overestimate to?
Just overestimating various aids, mainly the high-cost aid. Here's another graph, obviously not the graph of Sayville, because if you look at this, this has a positive slope. Sayville's graph has a negative slope. 2008-9 state aid is more than the 2014-15. 2008-9 state aid is less than 2014-15. This place got an increase in state aid. This happens to be New York City. So in the commercials, when the Republican senators were talking about with them not in total power, that all the money is being funneled into New York City. They weren't lying. However, even when they were in power, the money was being funneled into New York City. A little less, not as blatant as this. For instance, well, GEA, gap elimination adjustment, just a little background. Does anybody not know what gap elimination adjustment means?
We did our job.
Okay. Here's a graphic I love. This I got from the Urban News upstate. It shows that the state aid increase last year was $1.1 billion. And it was. I mean, we were told how much money Governor Cuomo was putting back in, $1.1 billion. Part of the equation that they failed to mention is the $1.03 billion that they funneled out the bottom by the gap elimination adjustment. So they added $1.1 billion, took away $1.03 billion. To me, that doesn't sound like a major increase. Not quite a decrease, but getting close. It was a decrease for us, but not for everybody.
Increase would overflowing the pond, really.
We have a Sayville Advocacy group as well as a Bayport Advocacy group that has put together some resources. This is all on our Facebook page, and there are two, Enough is Enough, as well as Save Our Schools, and it's to give us back the GEA. And the main person we're focusing on at this point is Governor Cuomo. And we have his office phone, his fax, his Twitter handle, as well as his Facebook page. So we can message, tweet, fax, or call the governor. And in conjunction with Bayport schools, we would like to make, it's hard to read it, oh there it is, right here, November 19th, Wednesday, the day that everybody contacts the Honorable Andrew Cuomo to let him know that enough is enough. He's told us that they have a surplus in New York State of close to $6 billion. So it's time to end the GEA. There's no more gap. So why are you eliminating money from us? And by the way, it's a piece of change. It's $2.7 million in this budget and $15 million over the last 5 years. That basically New York State has said we don't want to pay our obligation. We want to push that on the local taxpayers. $15 million worth. A lot of conversations we wouldn't be having today if we had $15 million more. Any additions on GEA?
Oh, it's one of my favorite topics of conversation. There was a PTA council meeting on Tuesday night where I think we're gonna bring that
Absolutely.
pamphlet to, as well as those postcards. And I do know Debbie Fitzpatrick, I saw her back up with.
She's there.
Back there as well, has been very involved in sending emails to her friends and family and community members. We hopefully at the Sunrise Drive PTA meeting, we'll do a social media blast. We can do it at that meeting. It doesn't necessarily have to happen at that day. It could go on all day, but I think if we have a concentrated effort then, it should happen. And there's another proposal for January 14th as well, where we're going to hit the local representation of the legislator, Phil Boyle, Tom Croce, etc., and Andrew Barbarino, and hopefully we can get enough enough support to actually go out and get something back. It's probably a very good time of the year because we do have a lot of Republicans. We have a lot of people in office right now. Tom Cosey is our newest senator, and he happens to be a Sayville resident, which may be beneficial, and so is Andrew, so it may be very beneficial. I think we get it done this year. I really do. I think we have a lot of momentum. We're cooperating with Bayport Viewpoint, and I have an Islip School Board meeting on Monday night as well, where we're going to be discussing it. And they're joining in. We have Islip, Hopog, Bayshore, Central Islip, etc. So we have some momentum. I think it's going to be very good. But we have to keep it up. We all have to keep it up. They're going to say no. We're going to say yes. We're going to say no. We're going to say yes. We need a momentum to keep on going forward. It's very important, and it's important for this district as well as all the other districts on now. So, if anyone wants to go locally and they give me a call, I'll be more than glad to go, which I said that before. So, and Mr. Cooley has also been.
Yeah, there are cards over on the table, so pick up a card. Basically, just ask 5 people to contact the governor and tell them NUG.
He does have a Facebook page, so it's you can put comments on his Facebook page. I don't know how long they last. They may be up there for a few. The positive ones, yes, Tom said the positive ones last, but I don't know if the negative ones are going to be up there long.
But if you do it as a message, it doesn't pop up. It'll just go to his people, and they'll get the message.
He needs to get the message.
So message, Facebook page.
That's it.
The next item is just informational again. I had the opportunity to go to a meeting with Dr. Tamarkin, who's in charge of Suffolk County Health Department. I was with Mr. Maloney, our athletic director, who's also in charge of our nurses, as well as Mrs. Brown, a nurse representative. She's the nurse at the middle school. And they went over these 3 items: the enterovirus, D68, the flu season, as well as Ebola. And they give details of prevention, and prevention with any of this. The major preventative action is to wash your hands often. This is on our website. It's, I'm not going to go over this in detail. Anybody may do so. But our personnel are being educated on what symptoms are, what precautions are, who's high risk, who's moderate risk, who's low risk, who's no risk. As well as just the biggest, again, what they say is the biggest preventer of the mass flu season is to get a flu shot. So, a lot of information here. It goes into as much detail as you want. And the last item was actually Mr. Belmonte's. He isn't here, so I'll review it. And that's the budget calendar. Okay. I don't have that to project, but it is online. You can look at it. We are in the process of the departments within the buildings are filling out their budget wish lists. We'll be reviewing them in December and January. In February, we'll be looking at the preliminary draft of the budget, February 5th. February 12th, we'll review more through that. February 27th, John has to put in the calculation to the tax levy limit to the controller and commissioner. March 5th, we'll continue to review the budget. And March 12th, hopefully, we'll be in a place to adopt our budget that is at or below the tax levy cap. we have an extra meeting built in. April 20th, any petitions are due for Board of Education seats. April 24th, the property tax report card gets submitted. May 5th, final budget documentation disclosures available for distribution. May 12th, budget information meeting and public hearing. May 13th is the mailing of the school budget notice. May 14th is voter registration, the last day. May 19th is the budget vote. And one date that John left off here is actually June 1st, which is after this, and that's when we have to submit our efficiency plan to the Department of Taxation. June 1st. And they have 2 months to go over it.
And the efficiency committee is reporting to the board.
But the efficiency committee is only part of the puzzle. The efficiency committee is looking at the educational program. I mean, that chances are there are very limited. Most efficiencies we could do, we've already done within that program.
Will they be reporting to the board?
Yes, they will be reporting to the board in February. And John Belmonte will be reporting to the board as far as what will be the major part of our efficiencies and what will go in the efficiency plan.
Well, as the state really hasn't given us.
We don't have the form yet.
Not the form of what they are actually looking at. They haven't really.
They've given some guidance.
Guidance, nothing really concrete.
No, we don't have the form. We don't know what it looks like. They've kind of told us what they will take, what they will not take. For instance, declining enrollment is not considered an efficiency. That is my report.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is a Board of Ed discussion. We do have 2 items. One is New York State School Board's annual conference where myself and Mr. Devino attended, and Dr. Sherman, I apologize, and amount of bond. Mr. Devino, would you like to go first? Go ahead.
Okay. We went to the conference down in New York City. They hold it upstate, and then they hold it for a couple of years downstate here in New York City. It's going to be here for the next couple of years. And it's a very educational thing that we find out what's going on, not only throughout the state, but throughout the United States and everything. And in the beginning, we had one of our speakers was Ann Bryant. She's our National Board of Education President. And she was talking about leading children to excellence, making board meeting time about children and education. And also, we should all have high expectations for children. If, to think about our position on the board, why we're here and what we want to accomplish. Because I've known Ann for quite a few years, and we have the same philosophy. And John and I have the same philosophy, and the board has the same philosophy, that these young people are our future leaders. What we put into them today, we're going to get out of tomorrow. So that's why it's important to get as much education as you can. The teacher year spoke about teachers having the passion to teach and looking at the future of the young people that they work with, and that they should honor education as something that's very, very important to our country. The board member of the year, he had a little comment there, and he called it the word PACE. And the P stands for positive, the A stands for attitude, C for changes, and E for education. And that's what board members should have in mind. I'm not going to, bore you with all of the information. I have pages and pages of notes and everything. I'm just going to give you a little bit of background on what workshops that I went to, which I will be sharing with the board in the future here. One of the ones I went to is the Future Education in a World of Accelerating Change. And technology is the upcoming thing, and it's going to get more and more involved, because that's the way the world is going to be going here. Another workshop I went to is Career and College Ready. In this workshop, I learned that Sayville is very, very high on the list of preparing our young people to go to college and to have a future. And I can state many cases of people I know that their kids have went through the program, and they're all very, very successful. What I found very interesting is everyone being bullied, not only young people, but adults as well. And there was a lot of good interaction in that workshop about, in some ways, everybody's being bullied. And it's up to us to teach the boys and girls to how to step up and just ignore this kind of, attacks that we have, no matter what area of your life it works in. That was another one. Just two more I got here for you. Anatomy, I'm sorry. Wrong page. Okay, finding common ground, models for an effective public input meeting. And in talking to the people that were running that particular workshop, as you're sitting in these workshops, you have a back and forth, so you can have comments and everything. And Sayville does a very good job of communicating with the public and keeping them informed and being available for people to contact us. And the last one was, you like this one, Tom, meeting in the sunshine, keeping everything above board and everything. And I thought of you, and I asked some of the questions that you asked over the years. And we do a good job. We have, places that we can improve on, like anything else. And I was also part of the resolutions committee that they have. They come up with new resolutions for the New York State School Boards Association as far as New York State goes. It was a very successful meeting. We had over 3,000 people. Like John had said, Dr. Shartner was down there also. And we learned a lot, and we have a lot to share. I could go on for a couple hours, but I won't do that to you because it's late. But I learned a lot, and I want to share with the rest of the board different things that I have learned. And John, I'm sure, has things that you would like to share.
I think one of the biggest advantages of going to the conference is meeting with other board members throughout the state of Long Island as well as upstate New York. And it was actually interesting. I was in the hallway discussing GEA with somebody in one of our local districts, and someone from upstate ran up to me and heard me talking about it, and that's actually the person who directed me to the petition website. And a lot of discussion did center around GEA and funding and appropriate funding. One of the big topics of conversation during the legislative session, where New York State school boards and National Suffolk school boards present proposed legislation, is some of the districts on Long Island are struggling with unaccompanied children. And a lot of districts are getting a tremendous push in of unaccompanied children. Some getting 30, 40, some 100, and the lack of funding for it. So we're trying, New York State School Boards Association as well as National School Boards Association is trying to get some proposed legislation that the districts were seeing this tremendous influx of unaccompanied minors or undocumented minors, that they provide the fundings for it. You can imagine having a district with limited resources underneath the tax cap, who all of a sudden sees an influx of 100 students. Now, if you have more than 20 students in a particular grade, non-English speaker, you have to have another teacher in that classroom. So the districts are struggling right now. Just imagine what happens when this happens. And you've probably all seen something in the news today about what happened in Hempstead. So it's become a big issue. And we had a little conversation about on the federal end. I think King in Israel are proposing some legislation to increase funding to the district. We're seeing an influx of students. and it's an important issue. And I happened to see a dynamite speaker called Les Moore. He was a student from an individual from Chicago who had a broken family, and he was on the road to basically nowhere. And he actually, the teacher got involved in his life, and he turned himself around. And he has a couple of books out. And if you want to be inspired, if you heard this individual speak about what he was going through in Chicago, it inspires board members to do more of what they do. And you just see the success story of this individual, and it is absolutely amazing. I did go to a couple of seminars. I went to one on negotiating contracts. Superintendent's evaluation, and one is freedom of speech in the classroom and at the school, which I found rather interesting. So they're long days. You're in a lot of classrooms. You're speaking to a lot of people, and just to see the dynamics of one district from you just look at downstate to upstate, and the struggles that some of these upstate communities are having, and some of the downstate communities where. It was interesting. I was having a soda with someone from upstate, and I told him from on Long Island. He goes, "Oh, you guys are all rich down there." I'm like, "Why? You know what? Why is this upstate downstate thing constantly go on? Because the governor portrays us as being really rich and wealthy." And we started explaining what our combined wealth ratio was on the island compared to New York State, and it just and this is from a very extremely poor district, upstate New York. I think, if they lose $30,000, it's a tremendous amount of their budget, and their students are struggling with the same thing our students are struggling with, and they want the same thing we want. And I think the misconception is us against them. It has to change. We really need to have one conversation, because all children of the state. The zip code shouldn't dictate. Unfortunately, I think the governor likes to divide us with them, and you can see the arguments that we have, or the discussions that we're constantly having is, you guys on Long Island, you don't need anyone. We need it up here. Well, no, it needs to be distributed really evenly amongst the state, and it's not done equitably. And we're lucky we live on the island, and they're struggling with the same thing we're struggling with. I mean, their infrastructure for technology is you probably have houses up there who don't have a computer in like 20 houses, and they're trying to push some initiatives where they want to teach kids on computers. They don't even have the bandwidth to do it. So we're kind of lucky down here, and we got a very supportive community, and we saw this musical group from I think it was Roosevelt.
That area was Roosevelt.
And I was like, you got to put an album out. They were singing, they were dancing. I mean, to have multiple standing floors is absolutely fantastic. And it's just to say, being a board member, seeing this, it's see the students and what they do is just tremendously rewarding. Besides, trying to keep hearing what all changes are going on constantly. It's constantly changing. So.
Well, I just might add the meeting that the get-together we had with the people from upstate, when they left us, their idea of Long Island was totally changed, and they were very receptive of the conversation that we were having with them. So that interaction really builds, camaraderie from upstate to downstate. Now they'll take that and share it with other people and say, we talked to these people, and we told them where we're from and everything. Contact us if you want any information.
They want to come down and visit. But they probably have, I'm going to say 300 students, and they combined, and probably the largest income is probably $30,000 a year, and it's just a struggling community, and you really you get thankful for what we have here compared to what they're struggling with up there. So certainly is eye-opening. That's what I have.
Okay. Just one addition with the unaccompanied minors. Money is an issue, it always is. However, the districts are asking for flexibility from the state too, because there's no alternate path of education. As far as the state concerned, they have to go through our courses and our regencies to get a diploma, the whole bit. but these students are coming to them 16, 17 years old, no formal education, even in their native language. You know, what are they supposed to do with them? If they can't give them just a day of intensive English, they have to hire special teachers, bilingual teachers anyway, if they have 20 or more. Just do extensive language training, then perhaps working with BOCES to career and technical education training so they're employable before they turn 21 and they're out of the system.
I think a lot of concerns with the unaccompanied minors is also with the testing and APPR scores where they have to take the test and you know, non-English speaking student taking a test and they're just told to take a test and now their scores can be low, so they were looking for some flexibility with that as well, so it's one of the issues that was also discussed.
It goes deeper than just money.
Yeah. Okay, anybody else? Board members? Next item on our agenda is amount to bond. Now, everyone did their homework, right? We just have just an open discussion. You want to go around the table? Where we want to be with this? What we're looking at?
No. In December, based on the input you give us and where you want to be, we'll present what we would like, and then you will decide what you would like, and that would be it. But this is, so we have someplace to begin.
I want to start first.
Yeah, I'm in the interest of getting in priority 1, 2, and 3, and then calling out, obviously, some of the 3s. But I think this is an opportunity that we have to seize that we won't get for a long time. So some of those, although albeit priority 3s, I see as could be necessities that we certainly need, and that again we're not going to have a chance to do this for a long time. So
did you pull anything out or call anything out, or
well, I mean,
think you want to be in?
Well, if you look at that, it's about 25 million for those 3. So I mean, so you have 15 and 4 and 6. So roughly 25 plus for those 3. And you, like I said, there are definitely things within 3 that we can call out to bring that down probably below a 25. But looking at this opportunity, it's really not going to happen for a while. And if we're going to do something, we want to do it right. And get the most bang for our buck. Considering that we're getting 68 cents back on each dollar.
And you're 25.9. You don't have any particular something to pull out of all 3?
Well, I mean, we're right now. I think for this discussion, we were looking at amount that we would like to bond.
Right. Okay.
If we want to go through that, I think that after that
So
that's where I think we should be.
We can drill down further once we all get an idea of the dollar.
Exactly. Or
And again, John and I will present recommendations on long-term things, and then you guys can, what you like, you'll keep, and what you don't, you won't.
Is it going?
I also agree. I wish John was here because I had a couple of questions with definitely 1 and 2, and some of 3. What I wanted to know if we could put up 2 bonds. For instance, 1 is a necessity as far as I'm concerned, and 2 is a necessity as far as I'm concerned. But there are other things that we might be able to put in a separate bond. Let's say a bond like 22 million, and then have a separate bond for the balance of what we see we would like to have. I think there are certain things that are a necessity to keep us. to keep us as a school to watch going forward, and that we'll be able to move forward in the educational community, I think both of them, and make sure we have a year on, and everything's done. But I don't know how plausible that is.
So you had a total of 22 million, or you went?
Correct, yeah, I wanted to, and part of 3, I don't, actually.
Is that total, Maureen? What, 22
So
for
I
one?
would say about 25 million on average, let's do on average.
Okay.
And again, I agree with Keith, I mean, if we're gonna bond, it doesn't all come at once. As we know, it takes years to complete this, it's just allowing us the flexibility to have the money to spend on things that are business.
I think it's important that we realize that we're getting 68 cents per dollar off of something like this. So, and there's a lot of stuff in here that is very, very necessary to keep our schools in the condition that they are. I come up with a figure of roughly right around 20 million, and I, like Maureen has said, would like to see 2 bonds, and go from there. I do have some questions on different items if it's a safety issue, and some of those are very important to me, and they're of a lower cost, but it's still, it adds to the figure. But roughly around $20 million I was looking at.
I see categories 1 and 2 as necessities, and most of category 3 as a necessity, with the exception of the sports field. The number I came up with was $23,808,000. I agree with Maureen that a second bond for the sports field might be a good idea. But with the caveat on that dollar number, I brought up with the architects numerous times on the bond committee, that since we're going to have to recommission all the building management systems and we will be replacing the classroom ventilator system, that air sealing and insulating would offer a significant cost savings in the short run. And again, that can be compounded over a long period of time. That's jobs, that's facilities. I asked the architects to explore that numerous times, and it didn't seem to get anywhere.
So you're talking boilers, you're talking a different type of boiler, a coefficient boiler?
No, right now I'm just talking air sealing the buildings, meaning sealing any cracks, reduce airflow throughout the building, and then insulate. They're all block construction, 50s post-war construction, southern ports, because they are flowing in and out. So if we're going to recommission the building systems, we might as well seal them up, insulate them, so we can save on fuel in the long run. Water misers are also something that is a really short payback and not capital intensive. And I did suggest looking at a cogeneration plant in the middle school. Cogeneration is where you have an on-site fuel source and you have a turbine that generates on-site electricity. You can actually feed electricity back into the grid, so you would get money from LIPA from that.
Is that like a heat pump?
Yes,
Like a heat pump?
essentially. And you could use the waste heat from that to heat the pool upstairs as well. It's capital intensive, meaning it's expensive to buy up front, but they're usually cash flow positive in about 3 years, and to the tune of anywhere, depending on the size of the plant, $30,000 to $60,000 a year that the district could be making, and as fuel costs rise, you're going to be making more money. So these are just things I think we should explore. So the 23.8.
Is it too late?
We had a cogeneration.
We did, not as successful.
No.
Took a long time ago.
Oh, yes.
20 years.
Yeah.
That was John Wright.
Yeah, it was,
20 years ago. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just to build on what Norm said too, if we're getting 68 cents on the dollar, we're able to amortize all of these facilities upgrades over 15 years, and we have a very low interest rate now. If you look at markets, it looks like interest rates will be going up over time.
So you're in the same dollar area?
23.8, And then putting up the fields in the number 3 category as a second bond.
Now,
Both fields or the one field?
I guess it was, I totaled up all the fields, so
Soccer, I'm sorry, softball, baseball,
that would
and the
be,
two,
yeah, baseball, softball, and the synthetic turf football field hockey
So it's not all. This is
field. No,
priority
the
one.
depot field is a 2, so.
This is one, or one,
Okay. I was really looking more at the debt service, and I personally feel that we can't increase the debt service. Going out for a $25 million bond is going to increase our debt service. This will be over the existing, by John's chart, 20 million brings you about even. So I'm still of the philosophy of going out for smaller bonds more frequently than going out for larger bonds. So I'm more pushing towards 15 to 17 million as a max, and trying to reprioritize like the ceiling tiles, because it's like 2 million. We could do that as we're doing the
Ceiling,
capital
I think that's
budget.
already, we have.
Yeah, take that out. Still trying to possibly fitting the turf field, but again, evaluating, kitchens, because that's another, we're always spending cafeterias. I leave that to you to get into.
Don and I on the rest of it.
Yeah. But I'm really concerned about the debt level, because I don't want it to increase compared to the current debt level.
So you're 15%. I actually had similar concerns to Tom, and I know.
Oh, and I think it should be voted as well.
And at our last board meeting, John Belmonte told us about some things we may be able to do with the Smart Schools Bond Act. So I looked at 1, 2, and 3. I pulled out most of the stuff that I think we could do with the Smart Schools Bond Act, as well as some of the other things that we could do over the ceilings, the capital projects, the spline ceilings I took out. I did look at, I'm at about 19 million and change, and I'm looking at 2 separate referendums, some with Maureen and Keith and Norm. I also, I know we spoke about the air conditioning at the old junior high school. If we do that, and we do bond that, I think it should be contingent on the lease with Suffolk County Community College, because I really don't want to have that expenditure and not have that space rented. Because that's.
I don't know that you want to get that. but-
Yeah.
So it's like $1 million.
They're already set to do that, right?
Well,
It was a combination of that, or we also have Sayville Learning Center who's looking for more space.
Right.
So it's a combination of both.
We should be able to do that, that shouldn't be a problem.
We should, but I don't know that anybody's going to guarantee it.
Right.
Well, not guaranteed,
No.
but what I'm saying is, it's almost $1 million ticket, and if we're gonna spend $1 million, I want the space to be used instead of air conditioning in an empty space.
John, when you pull out based on the Smart Schools bond, is that all 1, 2s, and 3s?
It was a little bit of everywhere. A lot of it was in one. Security upgrades, intrusion systems, emergency lighting, alarm systems, public address systems. Now, I highlighted on my spreadsheet upgrade the fire alarm, because if it could be done with smart bond, it'd be good. But if it's a safety problem, I think we should really take a closer look at it. And again, the heating units at the elementary schools, et cetera, and the ceilings, I rolled completely out, because we did have a capital project over a number of years.
So once we find out exactly what's in that smart bond, that will leave us some flexibility to get to either 20
Right.
or.
And you wouldn't have to wait 2 years.
Right.
And and we asked the engineers, well, not the engineers, but the architects to give us a little more details on the fourth complex.
That's correct.
Before we go forward with that, I would really like to see, break out all the course, what the course of the field is, what
There was something else.
concession stands, and
There was something else that we wanted to break down the costs too. I have notes on.
so we're between, I guess, $15 and $25 million.
Right.
But again, with the smart bond, that gap that 15 to 25 can blow.
No,
you know.
yeah, I took those numbers out. I took those, it was roughly $300,000 for that.
Mhm.
And with the spline ceilings, I came up with $2.3 million to
One and two.
add 1 and 2, right? Which I think 2 had most
So
of those.
that's what I'm saying, you're taking out the $2 million for the spine ceilings, that's
15 to 20.
bringing
So
over the
that's where I
freeze
got it.
out, that will fill that.
That gives, that's what I'm saying, the amount you want to bond is really the figure we need to give them. They can figure out this can go on the smart bond, this can go on the capital improvements.
That will be part of our report.
So I'm just shy of 20, I'm at 19.
So I think if you look at it on average, about around 20, somewhere in
And
there.
that balances the debt service.
Correct. At 20, we were still going to decline somewhat in debt service based on the last graph. 20 was the upper limit.
Okay. So next meeting, we'll have
We will.
some more details.
We will have our recommendations and also a list of what we're guessing we can include in smart bond because we don't have specifics on that.
As I said, I took a guess based on the conversation we had. That's what I came up with. Any other items for discussion? I actually, I do. I actually met with a couple of individuals from SED this morning who are recertifying. I don't know if recertifying is the right word, but.
Yeah, back in 2006, 2004, when we started, we applied for Schools to Watch National School of Excellence designation at the middle school. And it was a 2-year process with visitations and scoring and from state ed. And in 2006, we received the award. But the Schools to Watch National School of Excellence program isn't one where you get recognized and voted. You have to reapply every 3 years. And we reapplied in 2009, received it, 2012, and now it's the 2015. They had the visitation from state ed to more or less, because Mr. Murray had to send in his application, then state ed comes and looks at the application and looks at what's going on to make sure what we say we're doing. And that's what was going on today.
And now there's only 26 schools in the state.
Over the last 10 years, there are only 26 schools in New York State that have gotten that designation, all middle schools.
That's a pretty good accomplishment.
Yeah, back in my old life, I used to do the evaluations in middle schools.
So it was an interesting, very, very interesting conversation. They're very encouraged by what we do around here. They want to make it, which is interesting, they want to make it more public knowledge, because not that many people know about it. You know, I have John King involved in it, and his undersecretary involved in it, as well as all local legislators becoming more involved in schools to watch and recognition that good that these districts are built. It's pretty good, pretty cool.
I think there are 5 on Long Island.
But one of them,
We're the original one. We were the first.
I just have a housekeeping comment. With some of the timeline of something delivered to us, could be a little bit earlier. The audit report was completed on October 6th, and to get it just 3 days before our meeting, you know, it was kind of like, I was in the airport today trying to report that. So we can just be mindful that we need, you know, time to, you know, especially with some of the detailed stuff that we have time for.
anybody else? Good?
Dr. Sean,
you just undo the thing there so maybe my school book?
Unplugged.
Plugged in.
Yeah. It's really important. That thing is supposed to.
We're gonna get ready and take
Yeah, you
a
can start.
couple of minutes.
This is, it's too many wires.
I don't wanna.
This one is,
Well, I don't know, something else happens.
you need
Well,
wireless.
that's the electric, I'm talking about plugged into the,
This is the one that.
We're gonna move the podium too, so just give us a minute.
Yeah, that's what I have. Let's, right there, just not put it in.
did you try it and show them?
We did it last week, I just
It worked last week.
I initially tried, why don't you use this, you know this plug works. Because I initially tried to plug in, it wasn't plugged in. That's why it wasn't working. I'm reading the directions, I'm trying to figure everything out. I called the tech guy,
Tech guy.
it's not,
That has to be attached to something.
not electric
Maybe
plugged
that's
in, it
why.
wasn't, plugged into the,
Orthodox light screen. So what is
you would give me one on.
Yeah, thank you.
Roll it forward, remember,
Yeah. The FAQ, right?
Yeah, thank you.
and once the bond is set, put it in.
Is it on? Is it on? Does that matter?
Bear with us for a minute. I'm sorry.
Add some of it to Facebook with links.
Yeah.
You now have 1,000 links.
Got some of them.
Yeah, I know, it says something, but not my scoreboard.
It went up from 300-400 last year.
There we go.
Hey, thank you.
Technology.
Technology at its best.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, we are now at public session. If you would like to speak to the board, although you're not required to do so, if you would, we would like you to stand at the podium and please give us your name.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Some of you may know me, and I'm a retired law enforcement officer. And I came here last September, some 15 months ago, as a part-time job to work in security. I didn't know very much about Sayville, although I lived in Bohemia. My wife and I traveled up Main Street of Sayville for many years, but I didn't know much about the school district at all. After arriving here as a security officer, I was very fortunate for myself that I was assigned to your high school. I'm fortunate because I have an interest in education and I liked being in the high school. And so I'd like to start off with words that I've said to Dr. Shartner in the past, but I'd like to say to all of you, and I'm sorry that Mr. Hoffer is not here. Oh, I'm very glad that he's here then. I had the fortunate experience for the last 15 months of being assigned directly in your high school. So I would have the experience of walking up and down the hallways, being in the lunchroom. I mostly focus on my time in the hallways because I get to pass the classrooms and hear what's going on. When you're a security officer in a school of very well-educated teachers, and obviously from the beginning of tonight's meeting, very intelligent students, I can tell you that a security officer can walk around the school very anonymously. So you get to hear a lot that people don't realize you're just the person in the corner. And so what I said to Dr. Shartner at a time last year, I'll repeat to you, you have tremendous good education going on in your high school. I'm thrilled when I walk up and down the hallways. This particular hallway on the second floor, the social studies wing, that I enjoy so much. You have Mr. Bennett, Brian Bennett, teaching economics. I've spoken to him after listening to his lectures, and that's what I tell him, I said, I'm stationed out in the hallway, but I get the enjoyment of listening to your lectures, and he should be in a college lecturing. And that's the type of education your kids are getting. He's teaching economics, and we talk about it, and I tell him that he could be teaching a social justice course. That's the way he presents economics. There's no BS about the stock market. He teaches real economics about real lives and real work problems and real unemployment problems. The real things of society that you kids need to know. That's just one example. Down the other end of the hallway is Mrs. Kramer, who's teaching intro psych as a psych major. I enjoy listening to her class. She refreshes my memory. I find out that there's new stuff going on in the last 30 years since I left school. But so that's just the experience that I had. And I just want to start off by saying how impressed I am with your school. My daughter's here tonight, not for my purpose, but she's here for her own purpose because I had to come here. She said, oh, I need to sit through a civics meeting. So she said, do you mind if I tag along and listen to what's going on? And partway through the meeting, I said, this is real Main Street politics and civics. This is what it's about in a community. Not always that exciting and interesting. I'm sure you enjoyed all the presentations on the graphs, but it can get a little dry there. But it's real. That's what it's about. But the reason that I wanted to speak to you, I wanted to tell you a little bit about myself and what my experience is. And I should say that I'm not an arbiter of judgment as to what your teachers are doing in the school. I'm just a layman, retired police officer, and I certainly don't stand that I have the right to judge them. But I can say that what I see is very good, and I guess in the sense of Justice Potter, I can say I can't judge it, but I know that it's good. I know what I see, I know what I hear, and it's good. But from my background of who you hired as your part-time security officer to stand in the hallways of your high school, I came from 27 years of law enforcement. And in the last 10 years, I was a supervisor. I worked in the village of Rockville Center, which is a very similar village to this town. And I did 10 years as a supervisor, 17 years before that on street patrol. That is the law enforcement that you bring into your school. I had different ideas when I started out after getting out of college. And I started out for 3.5 years. I stood in a classroom. My first experience was in a 6th grade classroom as a self-contained teacher. Self-contained in the old language of that I was the only teacher in that room for the 6 hours of the day with the 30 kids that were in my classroom. And that 30 might not sit well in Sayville, but that was the reality at a Catholic school in Manhattan. And then I spent another time period after that as a 7th and 8th grade math teacher. And then I went on to go into law enforcement and have a wonderful career in Rockville Center doing that. But that's also part of the background of who you put into your hallways of your high school. What got me into that classroom was a BA from the New School for Social Research and Psychology. And what I did with that, as I became a police officer, I went on to graduate work in criminal justice at John Jay College. And then as a police officer, I became very involved in Tim's work, union politics, and I spent 16 years negotiating contracts. And thinking that I'd want to do it correctly, I went to Cornell School of Labor Relations and picked up 12 credits in undergraduate work in labor relations. And while I was doing those 16 years of negotiating with my fellow officers, I became a board member, kind of like what you do, but for a union. And I spent 12 years doing that, ending off 4 years of those 12 years as the president of my PBA. During those 4 years, I was the chief negotiator of my contract. I was the signator on the contract. I was the negotiator of the contract. I didn't just sign a piece of paper that was handed to me. Tremendous. What I'm bringing about is I'm just one person. There's 3 other gentlemen here who come with their own background into your security field. And We're retired. We're looking for part-time work. This is a nice place to work. But we don't come here, and I'll tell you that I certainly do. I don't come here hat in hand. I come here resume in hand. And I come here with a tremendous education, professional experience, and intelligence. And so when I ask for a job, I ask for it respectfully, and to an extent, I was treated respectfully, and I laid a resume on the table, not a hat in hand and not a begging question. May I have a job? I said, I'm qualified for a job. I'm overqualified for a job, but I'd like to do the job for you. When I was in the high school, or as I have been in the high school, that respect has been extended to me, and again, I will go to Mr. Hoffer because he sets the tone of that school. And I'm going to give you a very simple way that a police officer standing on the street judges whether or not he's respected. When the person walks by them, do they say hello, and do they remember your name? And Mr. Hoffer, who has probably 100 or more people working for him in that school, always remembers that it's Brian that he's walking by, and it's good morning, Brian. And I don't forget that. And that sets the tone, and he's not the only one. It's throughout the school. Your teachers have tremendous conversations with me. It's never demeaning. I'm never somebody outside the professional mix of your teachers, all with their master's degrees, who I totally respect. Mr. Bayo and Mrs. Macris, tremendous amount of respect. Not that I just have for them, they certainly earned it, but that they kindly offer to me. It's tremendous. It's a great experience. And that relationship goes also with people that I meet in their lunchroom, the custodial staff. It's throughout the building. Now I'm going to go in a different direction. If you're familiar with policing, there's a term in policing when you study criminal justice, and it's called street corner politics. And if you're a good politician, you know the term and you understand what it would mean. Street corner politics says that no matter what you do in your mayor's office or in your boardroom here, or if you're a mayor and you're in charge of a village or a city or whatever, and you have a police force out on the street, you better know what the cop is doing on the corner and what he's saying, because that's where the politics really takes place. It's those little conversations that take place day in and day out. And the 3 men that sit in the back and the other 15 or so men that also do this job as well as me, I can tell you, to a man, as far as I know, my experience with them so far in these last 15 months, is you can trust their street corner politics. And I'll tell you this because a good number of them are right from this town of Sayville, and they have more vested in this community and this school system than I ever could as the resident of Bohemia. But you feed off of it. And I've become invested in what goes on in Sayville. It means something to me. I know it means something to them. But there's a corner in that street corner politics that you don't have covered. Okay? And that's your head of security. It's a misnomer. Your director of security. It's a misnomer.
I have to, I don't want to get into particular personnel for whatever reason, if you want to continue on a different.
Ask a question, we're not allowed to speak that.
We can't, we're not going to discuss personnel.
Very, very good.
And you understand that, I guess?
I'll end off in two ways. One is that I very kindly and respectfully resigned from Sayville yesterday with a 2-week notice. I thought that was in the best interest. You spoke of bullying. Yes, adults do get bullied. I don't. I'm an adult. I'm 51 years old. I've lived my life. I don't need to raise an issue of that I've been bullied and I need to make a complaint. But yes, you're right. adults do get bullied, and you do have bullying adults as well as bullying children. So I just felt that for my self-respect, it's best to just move on, and I can hopefully enjoy similar type work elsewhere. I will leave you humbly with my idea that first, I believe that you should have a director of security that answers most likely to Mr. Stimmel. And the reason for that is that Mr. Stimmel has a relationship with the educators of the school. The security should be brought into that so that there's an understanding that security is not outside the professionals that are running your schools, but they are part of that supportive and collaborative effort of what's going on in the school. And security is not a business entity. It's a part of the people entity of your school. The second thing is that when you have a director of security, it should be a person that can communicate with the administrators of the building, with the teachers of the building, and the children of the building. There should be an idea that they're a part of an educational system, not some jail system, not some number system, and certainly not a business system. There should be a human respect that begins every day, just like in a classroom, just like in a school building. I've made my point, and I think I would trust that you would know the direction that I'd like to go. I won't do it publicly, but you do need a change in this in Sayville. You definitely need a change. The change is not among 18, it's among 1. My last point is on your website, you have a description of your security program. In the last paragraph of that security program, you have advised the community that professional law enforcement will be the security force within your schools. When I was interviewed, I was told, because I asked that pointedly, will I be working with other cops, either retired or active? And I said law enforcement. And I was told not just that I would be working with other law enforcement, specifically I would only be working with other police officers. I was told by the director of security that he would only hire police officers, he would not hire correction officers or court officers because they did not rise to his level of standard as far as what he sought in security. Your most recent hire, who I would not name, is not here.
Come on, you have to stop this. You can't go into personal.
This board has sought fit to approve the hiring of a non-law enforcement for security. Did the board not know that, or did they decide to go against what they have published on the website and what has been the position of the security program, that you would only hire law enforcement? So did you either decide that you would change the policy and not tell anybody, or were you not told that you were hiring somebody that did not qualify for your policy? Somebody misinformed.
It's not a policy.
It's a public statement on your website that clearly states professional law enforcement. If a statement on your website under your security program is not a policy, perhaps you're saying with a capital P, it certainly is a policy with a lowercase p. All I'm saying is, and it's a rhetorical question, you don't have to answer it. Somebody did not tell the truth. Either the board decided to change this statement or go against the statement and not tell the public, or the board was not told. It's rhetorical. Somebody has an answer for it. And I'm not the only one that will be asking the question, so find out the answer and find out, why did it happen? There must be a reason why it happened. Somebody's not telling somebody the whole story. But thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else would like
I
to?
mean, I just want to make one statement. You know, we do have to be careful when we talk about particular personnel in public. As a body, we cannot,
We can't discuss personnel publicly.
we'd be legally liable if we did it. And that's why, you know, I was upset and tried to stop it, just so you understand. It's not necessarily your whole message, but it's just when you cross over that line, that puts us at risk as a district.
Anyone else for public?
I'm just, the security guards, we have a security guard now that's not a law enforcement. So why do we have security guards that replace the greeters that you had? I thought they had to be, security had to be law enforcement in order to have the security at the doors.
They have to be New York State certified security.
Okay, so the gentleman, or whoever, female, whoever, that person, so they are certified then?
They are New York State certified security, yes.
Okay, I thought I understood that he was, oh, he, she, whoever. Okay, thank you.
Not retired law enforcement. The-
Anyone else would like to have a stand for public comment? Please step up to the podium, please.
I'm a little blown away by that, so just, I didn't expect that. I have a few things. First I wanted to give this to you privately, Mary. It's not really for the board, but I guess the board will change it. It is the notification of the board meetings, this letter, you have on the website. It doesn't make any mention of executive sessions. This side does, but this kind of excludes it from the public. So I know we open and then we go into executive and then we come back out, but this doesn't give the public the opportunity to actually be here when you go in. I know that many people would be anyway.
So
But
I have
just
it on the
proceed-
business side, not the
You've
workshop
got
side?
it. If you want
Okay,
this,
not a problem, I can correct that.
I just kind of scribbled on it. So that was some of what.
It is actually published in the local newspaper. that,
Yes, it is published every
Right,
every
but you have to
workshop
have that
meeting is
notice
published.
posted 72 hours before somewhere. Is it on the board by the front door?
It's also in the newspaper. It's in the newspaper.
And it has to be on
And it's on the
display.
website.
The
And this
website, I'm sorry, the websites are nice and they say it's wonderful, but that doesn't count. It has to actually be in the paper.
Which it is.
Yes, and posted somewhere,
Right.
whether it's in a public section on your bulletin board, I don't know, when you walk in the
This is
door.
on the front door.
It is, that's
Put
what
on
I
the front
said.
door.
That's all.
I think
Okay.
it's there now, actually.
I
Yes,
didn't
it
see
is.
there was a crowd before, so I didn't really look, but I assumed it was there. I was just missing that thing. I also had last week, we had here what we called experts. They offered a lot of information, the gentleman from Field Turf, but he was, I felt, more a salesman or a representative from the company than an expert. I made you all copies, so you don't have to do that. These are both informational packets. They're not very big, 1's 3 pages, one is 2, and they both contain statements from oncologists,
Okay.
and other information, of course, but it's very minor statements, but they're in there. I want to let you know that I am in touch with, got through to Kravitz, the law firm for the GEA,
Great.
trying to get something through. So I have a second person that hopefully tomorrow.
This is a pro bono.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm really trying to push them, so we'll see. I think that'll do better because I tried to call the governor, and with this governor, you have to call
Kind of
and make,
right,
you make an appointment to speak to an aide. So they call you back 2 weeks later and say, okay, here's your appointment, the aide will call you back, and then you have to hope you're not in the dentist or something. So, I mean, that's what that's like. So I just thought I'd update you. John is not here, but I had some questions about the debt service. I had asked him, I don't know if you all have this, but I have our debt service going way back. It kind of looked like this, a lot smaller. So I made it bigger, and I went back 1 year to, even though I made a larger step back. In 2010, we took an $11 million, we did a bond of $11 million. In 11, we did this a little over $7 million. In
2012, we did another 11 million, and just recently, we bonded approximately 300,000 for the bathroom.
But I do think one of those bonds will refinance, and maybe that's why
Yes.
you see the repeat of the $11 million.
Yes, I'm sorry, it is a refinance.
We want to refinance.
Savings
so
of
lower the-
$700,000.
Right, but, okay, correct. But the list that I have here breaks it down, which is very interesting, into what we pay on each one of those in principal and the interest. So on the refinance of the 11 million, no, actually, that's not even that one. The one is a capital construction 2010. We have a running balance there. It says, 11, probably down to 10 left on it. Each year on that one, on 11 million, we're paying almost 1 million principal plus interest. Now, I had emailed John England, State Family Emergency. I don't know what the interest is on this one. He's estimating 4.25 on, I think that's what it was. I have these papers here from.
Let me just say one thing. I made a request that John could possibly show us a graph of the debt service less aid and any other, revenues that we get. Because like the energy performance bonds, it really isn't a cost in the debt service because it's totally negated by the revenues that we get. And that's why we did that bond. It's basically zero.
Right.
So really, I think to show the true trend, would be just to show what the taxpayers
Yeah.
actually pay.
Just so,
Right,
just
well,
so.
And I think that'll then show a clean line.
Right, but
That
what
energy performance contract is also guaranteed.
I understand, and if we don't write, they pay the difference. I know,
It'll be zero.
yep. But this one that we did capital construction is about 11 million. So what I'm saying is the 11 million, I don't know the interest rate. He hadn't emailed me back.
Okay.
And I think it's 4 point something. It's on here, he has this whole thing of 4.25 from last week. I printed it all. So if,
And John has all the information.
this is John's.
Oh, John gave you the information.
Yeah, so I have a question. I don't understand how he, on the one hand, is saying he's not going to bring a $20 million bond. He changed it from 24 down to 20 and offered to the 20, the figures for the 20 and the 15. I went home and researched all the numbers that we got last week. And I compared it to what we're paying, which I asked him for several weeks ago, well, maybe 4 weeks ago. And we're paying $1 million right now on capital construction, June 24, 2010 bond issue. So actually $11,650,000. All right, so we're paying approximately $1 million on that one. So if the interest rate is anything like,
On the 11 million.
if you actually, you could have this because I have the actual microsite. Would you like this one?
No,
You
we
can,
could just.
this is this district's, John broke it down for each one. So if we're paying that much on that, I don't know if the interest rate is similar, but what he's projecting here, it just seems his numbers are off a little bit. That's why I'm saying that a $20 million bond is actually going to come in at about $2 million. Maybe, depending on how it's structured. I don't know if he's paying more up front, some in the middle, I don't know. I asked him all that in email, and I didn't hear back from him, but I'm just saying that these figures, what he's projecting, just seems a little bit off.
But the 20 million would be, not all at once, to be bonded over the life of the projects, or the starting points of the projects.
Correct.
Correct.
But it would still, we still have to pay back
Yeah.
the same amount, you know.
Depending on
And
how
the
much you
interest
bond,
also,
bond.
like for instance, last year on that sheet, we had, say, 4 million, or whatever the figure is, 4 point something million in debt service, without the library. Well, 1 point something million of that is interest. The state does not give you back 68% on the interest you pay. So you might want to talk to John about it, because it's not the whole debt service that he's showing you. You're getting all this back, and the community is thinking, well, if we have another $1 million in debt service, that's not bad, because we're going to get back 68%. No, you're not. You're only going to get it back on a principal portion. Okay, so 25% of our total debt right now is interest that you're not getting 68% on. So I just thought I would bring that up.
Building aid's over 15 years too, so that's spread out,
I-
as well as the principal is spread out.
I understand. But, you know, it's kind of a little misleading to say we're getting back 68% on the whole thing when we're really not.
Collaborate. So we're gonna get, what is that, new person, new business personnel? Yeah. What do you want to go right now?
Yeah.
Yes, good. A motion to go into executive session. We'll be back.
Anita, I just want to say the right thing, hold on one second. We have a motion to go into executive session to discuss particular personnel. Second. We're going to be in executive session for about 15 minutes, so can you give us 15 minutes, please? 10 minutes. Okay, we're going to call 11:01 in 02 and 11:05. We're going to skip over 02 and 03. We're skipping over 3 and 04, okay. Hold on.
Okay, what's your motion?
I'm sorry, I did not, there was no motion on the floor yet.
So 11:01, 11:02, and 11:05?
11:05. I need a motion for those.
Make a motion.
Mr. Kohler, Mr. Cooley. All those in favor? Opposed? 11:03.
Motion.
All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained?
I can't see what he's on.
Okay. 11:04, need a motion? Motion. Second. Which number was it?
You having trouble with this?
Yeah. I'm sorry, guys.
It's all right.
It's my first
Pass
night.
that button for technology.
I want to call 3118 separately on that attachment. All those in favor?
Okay, can I just get the, I need the motion again.
Okay, motion for
For
10:04.
11:04.
Sorry.
Okay.
11:04. Second. Second.
Okay.
Discussion. Now we're going to call everyone but 3118.
Okay.
All those in favor? Okay,
Okay.
and now we're going to call 3118. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Let me get out of here.
This, you pulled it out to, you denied it or?
No, it's just passed. I voted. I voted. I voted no.
You voted no?
I voted no. Okay. New business other. 12:1 to 12:05. I need a motion.
Motion. Second.
Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Need a motion to, we don't have to go back to the executive session, do we? Okay, need a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second. Second. No.